Well, hello. Time for another short devotional. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. I think I'll entitle this one, I'm a Wimp. It's true, I am certainly not a lion hearted warrior, but I get ahead of myself. How do you fall asleep? I like to watch a reality show. No, not the Kardashians, nothing like that. I like the kind that are real nature, like where they go to Alaska or something like that. It helps me fall asleep. I might watch the same show four, five, six times, but it's true I need to do something to fall asleep, to slow my mind down. Well, I also like to read. That way I fall asleep really fast. I'm lucky to get a couple of pages. Well, that was not true with the book I just read, and it was written by Scott Zamek called One More Horizon, the inspiring story of one man's solo journey around the world on a mountain bike. That wouldn't keep me awake, would it? Well, this one did. The hardships he went through, the food he ate or didn't eat, I'm still haunted thinking about that. He nearly died of heat stroke, dehydration, hepatitis. He was imprisoned in Pakistan, traveled illegally in China, chased by gangs of children trying to stone him. He was so poor, he only allowed himself a little bit of money. He put his life in danger constantly, sleeping in a little tent outdoors with wild animals. His bike broke down many times. And for what? That's what keeps coming to my mind as I finish that book. And no, I didn't sleep that much while I read it. But when I got to the end of the book, the thought came to my mind, for what? Why did he do it? He did it for the adventure. Would you put your life in danger for something like that? Well, the truth of the matter is, most of us won't put our lives into any kind of discomfort for anything at all, especially not for something important. We as Christians should have some kind of goal in life, right? I mean, we are the people who have a real purpose. I think we just forget what it is. We're supposed to tell others about Jesus, to save them from an eternity without Christ. And we find it difficult to get up in the morning for church, difficult to walk across the street or next door for that matter to meet a neighbor. I'm talking about myself. I don't know about you, but I know I wasn't always this way. I've become soft, lazy, self absorbed. I spend more time looking in the mirror than I do looking out the door. And I thought about a real hero, and this is what I just want to look at today, and then have you draw your own conclusions. Who am I looking at? Paul. In 2 Corinthians 11:23-28, he said, in I labor more abundantly, in stripes above measure, prison more frequently, death more often. From the Jews, 5 times I received 40 stripes minus one. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day I spent in the deep, in journeys often, in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, in perils of my own countrymen, perils of the Gentiles, perils of the city, perils in the wilderness, in perils of the sea, among false brethren, weariness, toil, sleeplessness often, hunger and thirst, fastings often, cold and naked. I was looking online at an article. It was a PDF file talking about Paul's sufferings, and it said, we have to believe this is a list of all the sufferings Paul endured? No, not at all. Considering the following, that Corinthians is the fourth book Paul wrote. It was written from Macedonia. Sorry, he's not a nut. Macedonia in the autumn of 57 AD. During his third missionary journey, it is believed Paul's conversion occurred in 36 AD, his death in Rome in 68 AD. That would indicate a ministry of 32 years. So, seeing as 2 Corinthians was written in 57 AD and recorded Paul's sufferings he endured up to that time, long story short, this is just a part of his sufferings, a part of his imprisonment, a part of his problems. He was bitten by a snake, another shipwreck. Let's put it this way. you and I have not suffered at all. Not if we look at it through the eyes of Paul. And yet, here's what Paul says. Here's what he says. Let me find it and I'll read it to you. He said, through it all, Paul's faith continued to excel. 2 Corinthians 12:10 says, therefore I take pleasure in distresses, in persecutions, in infirmities, in approaches, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, I am strong. Okay, I could have read that better, I'm sure, but my point is the same. We need to take a look at our lives. We're not dead yet. There's so much more we could do for the Lord. I'm so glad I wasn't called to Paul's sufferings, to Paul's life, but I've been called to my life. And there's more to do than sit in my chair, watch television, play games. What about you? Do you get my point? It's time to stop being such a weakling. It's time to put on our big girl and big boy pants. There's so much more. We can be warriors for Christ. What is Christ calling you to do? I hope you feel what I do. It's time to realize His coming is soon. There's work for us to do. Until next time, I remain your friend, Mini Warrior, Lana D.